Hey, Christina Simmons with the Catholic Leadership Puzzle here. And as we begin a new calendar year, I had spoken about we did an end of year leader review in the last post, and I hope that you took the time to do that. We're now moving on to our next topic. And one of the biggest things that we have to do as leaders is to know how to coach and accompany anyone to whom we've been entrusted. This can be in ministry, this can be in our business, this can be in anything that we are about, of where if we're responsible for other people, then we need to be attentive to these particular ideas in order to help them become fully who they have been created to be, and also so that they can really immerse themselves in the work or the activities that you have for them to be doing, and help them be able to do it in such a way that they're able to bring the full complement of their gifts and talents and to really flourish, so that not just the work gets done, but that they as people continue to grow. One of the things that we have to bear in mind is that there are things that we can do as leaders in order to be able to create an environment in which our people that we've been entrusted to and that have been entrusted to us are able to achieve their best selves and also be able to truly find joy in the work that they are doing. If we have been doing our strategic planning properly, if we have been setting goals properly, if we are being clear, concise, and direct about what our mission is, then we should be able to create this environment in the context of why are we about these things? Well, it's because of this. So I'm going to use what I have been using within our own parish community to help you be able to illustrate what I'm talking about. So, for example, one of the first qualities that any healthy ministry or organization has is people growing people, or within the Catholic world, disciples growing disciples, which means that we as leaders need to continue to be growing in discipleship, and we need to be helping others grow in discipleship. We also have to share what is the vision for what it is that we're about. What does success and growth look like for anyone who participates in this ministry or this activity? And what does it look like for them individually and for the ministry in general? Then we also need to be continuously inviting others into the work. If you're in a business, you might be going, well, I'm not going to be hiring people all the time. And that's very true. But the team as a whole needs to be invited into seeing how they have a part to play, even if it's not a direct impact on the work being done, they have an indirect impact. So, for example, if you don't involve your communications person, then it's kind of hard to get the word out to people about an activity, that you might be doing. So they need to be involved in knowing what you're doing, and you need to provide them so that then they can do their job. So this is where we have to be continuously inviting others into our work. And this is at the macro level, which I just described, and the micro level, which is if you're dealing with a ministry and volunteers, those volunteers should always be seeking out others to come with. Just recently, we had the gospel about, come and see what Jesus is doing. Well, we do the same thing, and we should be doing the same thing in our ministries. Then we need to be able to understand, how do we fulfill what it is that we are doing as a ministry in the context of a larger community. So in addition to helping them understand how their particular task helps the larger community, helps it fulfill its mission, we also need to be looking at, how am I helping this person be able to step more and more into a leadership role? So in other words, they're moving from doer to leader. And then how am I able to sustain that activity? So not just the taking a person from doer to leader, but helping them then take others from doer to leader. So building a sustainable structure is all of what we're supposed to be doing. So this video is part 1, and what I'm going to focus on for the end of this is on how we can create an environment in which that personal development can happen for those whom we've been entrusted to leading. The second is going to be talking about the path of helping people go from doer to being a leader and what that looks like and what we're supposed to be, doing in the midst of that, so that then we can then create a sustainable ministry or a sustainable business, because these activities are going to be constantly being done. So the first thing to create an environment in which someone is able to become fully, themselves is to overcome anonymity. One of the biggest challenges that we have in our world today is the sensing that we're invisible, that nobody knows who we are. So the first step that we have to take as leaders is to come to know someone, know them by name and know them, know their story, understand who it is that they are, what are the gifts and talents that they are bringing to the table that you can then leverage and help them leverage so that they truly are able to find joy. But every person wants to be understood and appreciated for their unique qualities, particularly by their boss, by their leader, whoever is in charge of the ministry, for example. The person who is doing the ministry wants to know that their contribution is valued. And we can't even begin to have that kind of conversation, to really have your thank you mean something and to be authentic, if you don't know them by name and if you don't know them. So one of the biggest things that we have to do is be intentional about spending time. And it can be not tons and tons of time, but it can be something as simple as you say, hey, and you spend the 5-10 minutes, even in the midst of a ministry function, but you as a leader intentionally single out a couple of people each time you're doing that work, and you spend time with them. You do the work with them. So it depends on what the work is, of course. There's some things that have to be done individually and with focus. So for you to be with them would be, intrusive and would interrupt. But those activities where you have the opportunity to be able to talk in the midst of doing and get to know people is important. But we have to be intentional about coming to know people by name and coming to know their stories as well as their gifts and talents, so that we can make sure that they're doing, in the midst of the work, that they're doing the exact things that they've been created to do, that they are motivated to do, that they are going to truly find fulfillment and joy in the doing of them. But we can't do that if they are anonymous to us. So to create a culture that's going to help people be their best selves and do their best work, we need to make sure that we create an environment in which people are known. The next is we have to make sure that they know how much their job matters. Their role in whatever it is that they're doing, they need to know that it matters, that if they didn't do it, then the work would not have the impact that we're hoping that it will have. We need to be able to make that connection for people and point it out. Some people will naturally be able to see the connection between taking out the trash and having a successful event because of and its importance to the community. Other people aren't going to be able to make those connections. They're going to think that, oh, I'm just taking out the trash. And they don't realize how important a task that is, to be able to clean up the environment, to be able to continue to have a space that then can be used by others, by the fact that by having an empty waste basket, that actually is a sign of hospitality for people, because they're not having to try and force their stuff in to a full trash can. These are little things that we don't even think about but we have to as leaders. We need to be able to say, your job is important and here is why. And this is where people then are able to find more fulfillment in their work. Whatever their task is, they're able to find more joy and fulfillment in it. So we have to ensure that people don't feel that what they're doing is irrelevant, that it's a waste of their time. One of the things, just a quick example, I was given a task to analyze and to determine a better way for doing something, and I gladly did that because we needed to improve it. But I did all of that work. I presented the different solutions that could be done, and then none of them were done. Talk about feeling irrelevant and feeling like it was a waste of my time. And so the next time that this person came and asked me to do such a thing, I was not as open to it because I'm like, why am I going to waste my time when it doesn't matter, when no change is going to happen? So that's just an illustration there so that you can understand how important it is to make sure that everyone feels, one, that their task is relevant, but especially that it matters. The final part of the environment that we need to make sure that we are attentive to is assessment, giving people a tangible means through which they can assess their success or their failure, or where it is that they need to grow and improve. Everyone needs to be able to gauge their progress. Everyone needs to be able to see the level of contribution for themselves and not be dependent upon the whims sometimes of how somebody feels, the leader feels. It's like, so if they're in a good mood, you did a great job and awesome, and it's so important, and we're so happy that you're part of the team. Other times it's like, oh my gosh, this was a total disaster. This is something that, and it all was dependent upon how somebody felt versus a tangible way of looking at what was good, what was bad. Again, we're going to go more deeply in a couple of sessions into assessment and different ways that we can do that assessment and have metrics for people. But it is important that within any environment in which you are in a leader, that you are making sure that there is measurement going on, that there is assessment going on. People's motivation to be a part of something very quickly deteriorates if people see themselves as unable to have any part of control of what it is that they're doing and measuring how they're doing. If it's always reliant upon someone else to tell them, then very quickly they become very jaded, and their motivation to do a good job, because what they did before is one time it's approved and is praised, and other times it is looked upon as an utter disaster and failure. And so you need to ensure that as a leader, and it's not about how you feel or what your personal thoughts are that are determining all of how someone is able to see how well they're doing within their task. So these are the three parts that we have to be attentive to as a leader in order to be able to coach and accompany people properly, in order to position them so that then they can go from doer to leader. And next time, that is what we're going to focus upon, is what do we need to be doing in order to help people be empowered and to engage and to take action. This is the culture that we're trying to create, and this is what we'll be talking about next time. I hope that you have found this to be of value and of help, and I look forward to your thoughts about these three different qualities that we need to be attentive to in creating an environment in which our people are able to be their best selves and do their best work. God bless.